I love the chair.
Very good noise
I love
there.
the empty chair that just swings around and shows me its back. As Dave
And here's
takes
the front.
command of the chair and brings his coffee into the studio. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Talking Niagara, 7 a.m. every weekday morning. Glad to have you with us. Mike and a few friends, I'm sure, will show up during the course of the day. So let's get started. We've got, okay, so interesting. Trump is going to release a fraudster who was convicted, I think, of 6 years in prison, and he's only a few weeks into his sentence. And he basically is saying the Department of Justice under Joe Biden made multiple missteps, and the investors were aware the money could be going to other people's dividends. So basically, this was described by Biden's Department of Justice as a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, it's very obvious that whatever Biden said, no matter what the Biden did, whatever administration it did, whether it was right or wrong, Trump's going to do the opposite. Pretty much what he did the last time when that Bitcoin fraudster wrote him a letter, said that he'd invest $80 million into the Trump family, and suddenly he gets a pardon. This guy gets his sentence commuted. He's in there for 7 years. It was a serious crime, but Trump sees a potential crooked investor that will benefit his own family, and there you go. Yeah. Trump is the one that's going to decide who is guilty and who isn't, and not the legal system, which is appalling. And I don't know why. Here's another thing where the Republicans could stand up to him and say, "No, look, this guy's a criminal. You can't do that." He has pardoned a lot of criminals. Like you can make excuses for some of the rioters. On January 6th, there was 1,500. He let off the hook there. There was probably many of them who really got caught up in the moment, and maybe really shouldn't have. Maybe should have had parole. Or,
they should have had slap on the wrist or parole, exactly, rather than the sentence they got. Many of them, but we don't know. We don't know the details of each of those supposed crimes, do we?
Yes, but he just sweeps away his arms and said they're pardoned. He pardoned Manafort. He pardoned Stone. Both of them were heavy duty criminals. This guy. He is an obvious criminal and fraudster. He's these are the kind of people he surrounds himself with. Fraudsters like Roger Stone and Paul Manafort. Well, those guys are kind of completely out of the picture. Because pretty much Trump said, "Stay low, don't bother me, and I'll pardon you. Otherwise,
Yeah.
Plus, those guys had dirt on them too, so it was in his best interest to pardon him.
Realistically, the Department of Justice is not going to do anything different, whether it's under Trump or under Biden or under Obama or under any other president. They're going to operate in the same way they always do.
Yeah, there might be certain small differences depending on whether the Republicans or Democrats. Unfortunately, there are some issues that would be different because of the way the Republican and Democrat sees it. But something like this would be pretty obvious.
Yeah,
the guy's a fraudster.
Yeah,
he's a crooked guy. I mean, you can't go through all that and be like, they're not looking for people to throw in jail. It's hard enough for them to find the people that are responsible for crimes and throw them in jail. And then when you finally do get a guy like this who's clever, can get around the law as long as he did, do the Ponzi thing, and and they're very hard to track down. And once they get them, they throw them in jail. What's next? Is he going to go like Bernie Madoff is dead now? But would he pardon Bernie Madoff?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
he's making it very clear. He's seeing a guy that he can use, a guy that's willing to pay him off, to do business with his sons. Nasty business. That was the crypto criminal that he commuted the sentence for the last time. He was a Canadian guy, actually. And,
well, they're all people that
he was in business with his sons. Oh well, how about that?
Yeah, they're all people he can make. He seemingly can make allegiances with, right?
Yeah, crooked people. He loves it.
Yeah, and that actually I think is problematic.
Well, yeah, it makes it very clear. If you're crooked and you see things my way, I'll look the other way.
Yeah. Or you could help me. I'll look the other way. Yeah. I find that disgusting of any president. Just on how many people has he pardoned? Way too many, right? And usually you get the pardons come at the end of a presidential term, and it's like it would be people that the state has basically said, well, you know what, we shouldn't be keeping these people in there. It's an 80-year-old murderer who's not going to really murder again. Better off letting them, it looks humane to let them off and let them die in peace. That type.
I don't know. Well, if you got a guy,
typical pardon that you get at the end of a presidential term.
Well, you might get a guy that's been in jail for 50 years.
Yeah.
And you might let him out as a pardon. There may be some, I don't know. You'd have to look at who did Biden pardon, who did George Bush pardon. Quite often, though, it's like somebody who may have worked for the party and got money for them, got them pardoned. It's kind of, I think, what's his name? Kushner's father used to work for the Democrats, and he got into a whole lot of trouble, and he was able to come up with he had substance abuse and all this, and he got his sentence reduced and all that, but because he couldn't get a pardon, he found clever ways of getting around the law, and he never served his sentence either. It's very clear what Trump is doing here is there is a justice system for the rich who can pay me off, or the poor who won't be able to pay me off, so they have to stay in jail for the same thing the rich people do.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. To me, it's an abuse of power, but let's move on. Okay.
Certainly looks that way.
Singapore executes 3 men for drug offences over 2 days, and additionally, 17 individuals this year have been executed on drug and murder charges, making it the highest annual total since 2003. And part of me says, well, Singapore is well known to have a drug related sentence. If you get caught with drugs, you can be executed. Death sentence. Yeah.
Well, here is the quandary, and I asked our listeners this. In Singapore, they have a very, very good society. They're those essentially crime free. They have very, very strict rules. I mean, if you spit on the sidewalk, you might go to jail for a day. If you stick gum on something, you have to be careful in everything you do. The reason why such draconian laws came into place is because when Singapore became an autonomous zone, it had 3 or 4 different basic racial ethnic groups. It had the Malays, it had Chinese, it had Indians, it had others. And these factions were all on each other's case. So when they actually a dictator took over, basically, and he was kind of like a benign dictator. He came in and he said what's going to happen. He put on these really strict rules, and they started killing people who did things and rioted or hurt other people. So they started executing them or throwing them in jail or beating them, caning them. And pretty soon, guess what? Everybody started behaving properly. But it was practically a police state. But you could walk out at any time of night, walk down the street, go past neighbors that used to hate you and they won't do nothing against you. You could be a Hindu, you could be a Muslim, you could be a Christian, and you don't have to worry about being beaten up by the opposite faction. You don't have to worry about gangs because the police state will just walk in and dissolve those gangs. Now, one of the reasons why it works so well is because of the harsh draconian laws. You can live your life as long as you live your life well and within the laws and the rules. You've got nothing to worry about. But as soon as you step out of line, you've got something to worry about. And if you bring drugs into the country, we're going to hang you. And
the thing is, it's been clear. Singapore has made it clear that you bring drugs, you'll get death penalty.
And what got me there is I saw the amounts of drugs which will get you a death sentence, and they're not that big amounts of drugs, including 500 grams of cannabis. 500 grams of cannabis, that's a little bit over a pound of pot. Imagine being hanged for a pound of pot.
When you consider it's actually it's legal here.
Well, even before it was legal, you might get a slap on the wrist
for that amount.
Even back in the 60s and 70s, you might do a little jail time or something like that for a pound. It really wasn't considered a whole lot. I mean, when I was a kid, a pound of pot was about $20. Was a pound. You could buy a pound for $20, and that would be, and at a time when $4 an hour was a pretty good wage, so that would cost you 5 hours worth of a day's salary, basically, to get a pound of pot. And it's probably before it became illegal, it was probably about the same. But my question here is it overdue for Singapore to loosen its draconian laws? Or is it a result that Singapore does not have much of a criminal presence, at least not in basic crimes? I don't know about white collar crimes. Like, they don't mention them here. Like somebody like the guy that Trump just pardoned, would he be hanged? What do they do? What do they do with white collar crime? That doesn't really mention that here. But on the street level crime, is it better to have very, very strict rules so that you can walk out at 2:30 in the morning and walk home and not have to worry about being mugged? Is it you don't have to worry about a drug dealer? You don't have to worry about anything like that. Drugs are destroying a lot of different countries. I remember the little tiny country of Dominica where I was at back in 2011, and that place was being corroded by drug abuse. A lot of drugs were coming into that little place and killing its social structure. It was like nobody knew what to do about it. And it was a tiny, out of the way place, but somebody decided they're going to make money on that.
Okay. All right. Moving on. The auditor has basically found that the Ford government is not cracking down on doctor overcharging.
This was interesting. It's the Auditor General's report, and no government likes the Auditor General report. We saw the Trudeau government getting beat up pretty bad Auditor General report after Auditor General report that
Yeah,
showed
that was for sure. And that was, of course, fueling Pierre Poilievre, because all he had to do was stick the auditor report at the Trudeau government, and he'd make headway.
Yeah, so it was. Yeah, so it was like, I don't know, but the Ford government's not doing a whole lot better. So when you think of the Trudeau government just being lambasted time after time after time by the Auditor General report, where she looked like she was complete exasperation about all the blunders that were going on there and all the overcharges. Well, what do we find in this one? What do we find? We find doctor overcharges.
Doctors billing for more than 24 hours in a single day. 82 doctors billing for that.
And what do we find? We find Ford pulling out the Trump trick. Trump blames Biden for everything. It's been 10 months into his term, and he blames Biden for everything, like he blamed Obama for everything that went bad in his previous administration. Now Ford, who has taken over in 2018, is still blaming the Liberal government of 2018.
You can't blame Kathleen Wynne for this. It may have existed in Kathleen Wynne's time, but you could have easily turned it around by new regulations easily.
Well, just like Trump is doing, like, oh wow, it was like, you can't expect us to turn around the economy when it was so bad, even worse than we thought. Well, where have we heard this before? Like just about every administration that takes over from another administration. And that's what Ford's trying to pull off here too. Well, my God, it was so bad under the previous administration, and we've really been working hard to get it back. Meanwhile, Auditor General report after Auditor General reports looks like blunder missives, all kinds of other things. And of course, Ford deflects it, and he points to things that were possibly positive in the healthcare. Yeah, this is what we did here. This is what we did there. Just like every politician deflects away from, he sticks on health, but he starts to deflect it where possible credit can be had by certain initiatives. But the point of the matter is, the healthcare system is in a terrible shape. Yeah. The government has not done enough, evidently, to get people a family doctor. They haven't put enough resources into it. Their billing and investigative resources are old and out of date, and we are missing probably up to $1 billion in overcharges. Like, that's really, like, as an Ontario taxpayer, I'm so happy about that.
Well, and bothers me about this is, like, so why does the province have no systematic process to investigate excessive claims? Because you would think it would be easy to detect. You put in a 24-hour timesheet, and okay, so as a doctor, you worked on an emergency and you were on call from 6 a.m. on Saturday morning till 6 a.m. on Sunday morning. I get it. Maybe you weren't awake the whole 24 hours, but you were on call as the what do you call them? The certain doctors in training that have to go through those kind of things in emergency rooms, emergency practice. And maybe that's the situation. Maybe that's real, but it's not real on every single occasion. And the point being is that surely it would be easy to set up detection tools for this, and at least be able to say, hey, Mr. Doctor, validate and and
Mr. or Ms. Doctor, would you have it?
Thank you for correcting me. Validate your claim. Give me the evidence. That you were here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, so here we go again. The government's blaming the previous government. The government but you can see the arguments here basically. So those people who audit the healthcare system say, well, we need more computers and more staff.
Yeah.
And the Ontario government's saying cutbacks because we were over budgeted. We had
they've got 8 staff on the audit
money.
unit.
So they're saying
8 staff. Yeah, they can do a lot with that, can't they? No.
Yeah, so they basically cutbacks,
Yeah.
kick it down the road a bit. Now you get to a situation where it's costing you money because you do not have the ability to trace down overcharges, or mischarges, or things of that kind.
Well, and
you don't have the ability to do proper oversight. So it's the catch-22 thing. You either spend more taxpayer money in upgrading your facilities, bringing them up to modern standard, and thereby reduce the amounts of fraud or mischarges, or you don't spend that money and show the taxpayer, look, see, we're being frugal. Yeah. So there you're in that situation now.
Yeah. And so it's kind of hard, but without the audit division, without a proper effective audit division, you're really not going to know about these overcharges, are you? Because there's nobody looking at them, there's nobody looking for them. And some of these doctors charging more than 24 hours is perfectly valid. We know that because there are people in emergency that have long shifts, but many of these are probably not valid.
Well, sure, there's one doctor that it's already agreed just to pay back over $100,000 of overcharges.
Yeah.
That was investigated. Yeah. Sometimes these are mistakes, but most of the time, she just saw that it was a wholly inadequate auditing system to chase,
to make some extra coin from it,
to police this. And she's found a lot of other things where there's supposed to be training facilities and everything to get more doctors going. Ford says, oh, well, we've added more seats to medical schools, blah, blah, blah. But the Auditor General says, yeah, but since that time, 44% less doctors have been approved through the system because your own system is too slow and inadequate. You haven't funded it properly. There you have that same problem. Do you spend money, taxpayer money, upgrading it, making more facilities, and then getting the results off of that? Or do you stymie it and show everybody you're saving the money? So you're always in this situation where do I spend money most effectively?
Yeah. And
she's pointed out where the government has and has not spent money effectively. And in the healthcare, it's pretty glaring.
Yeah. Okay. And they've said, not only have you got an understaffed audit department, but it's just outdated billing systems and planning and coordination issues, which all bring about problems with overbilling because nobody knows what's going on.
And despite increased spaces in medical school, which the Ford government has bragged about, to address the shortage of doctors, a lack of training sites, such as primary care teaching clinics, means the province is graduating 44% fewer family physicians than forecast. Yes, because they did one thing but didn't complete it by doing another. You have to do two things. You have to get medical schools, and then you have to get training facilities. So you did one, but not the other.
Yeah.
And which has resulted in 44% less than you had predicted you were going to do. And why is that? She pointed out why. And it's because of the training facilities.
And with this, basically, they've also projected there's about $1 billion in potential overbilling through because of this.
And blundering. It says here that it's because Health Ministry, led by Sylvia Jones, did not, in a timely manner, plan for the development of additional family physician training sites, which and back in October, headlines made by exposing problems with the government's controversial $2.5 billion skills development fund following a special investigation. So they're kind of screwing things up a bit. And you would think that they're being conservatives. They would get down to the supposed to be business-like and get down to the nitty-gritty. But on the other hand, Ford government has hired former federal Liberal health minister, Dr. Jane Philpott, to connect every resident with a family doctor by 2029 based on postal codes. The province is not doing enough to promote its Healthcare Connect service so that more Ontarians know to register. So there's a lot of problems here, communication problems,
and we were talking
problems. And she's pointing all these things out, that there's been a lot of half measures done, but not full. They just haven't followed through with a lot of it. It's
and the other thing we were talking about Niagara's local healthcare system and the problems there. Of course, there has to be an impact through the Niagara health system as well.
Well, this has to do with everything in Ontario.
Yeah, because it's the whole province, and we don't know to what extent Niagara's health system is impacted by this.
I don't think it's much different from anywhere else. I think
but you know why I'm asking. You know why I'm asking the question, because we were talking about Niagara's healthcare accountability last week.
Oh yeah, we have our own regional problems, of course. Hospitals in Fort Erie,
and this isn't helping. Is all I'm saying.
Area, healthcare facilities down there. Of course, we have major problems, but generally speaking, the province has the same, plus or minus, basically the same kind of problems.
Oh yeah, but this isn't helping our local budget. Is all I'm saying.
No, it isn't. And so I don't know. These things seem to be almost unsolvable. They're so huge. But then again, this article was a Toronto Star article. Toronto Star article will leave no stone unturned to find something that besmirches the Conservative government. The Conservative government could be the 99% the best government in all the world, and they will concentrate on that 1%, as they should to a degree, but they won't tell you about the other 99%, and the Sun will do the opposite.
Yeah. Okay. There's unfortunate times. Algoma Steel are laying off a third of its workforce in the Sault Ste. Marie plant.
That's what I feared. This is what I feared when the tariffs came in, and of course it's all blamed most entirely on the steel tariffs coming from the United States. This is what I feared. I believe that the United States has had in the past the ability to make more steel than it normally does. It has idled steel mills here and there everywhere. It has the iron ore. It also has the coal. A little later on, they'll be switching over to electric arc furnaces for making steel, but to modernize. But the United States can pick up a lot of its own steel work that it bought from Canada. It can fill that in. Unfortunately for us, our steel trade with the United States went back and forth. We can't put too many tariffs on U.S. steel coming in because we need that. But on the other hand, aluminum has not stopped. Aluminum is in very good shape, even though it has a 50% tariff on it, because the United States cannot produce aluminum. They can't. Cannot produce it anywhere near the speed and quality that we can. And if they were, and they won't be able to turn that around for 7 to 10 years at minimum, very minimum, if they put a lot of concentrated effort in it. So the aluminum industry, despite the fact that there's a 50% tariff on it, is doing quite well. However, the steel industry is a different thing because the U.S. has the capacity to make up ground.
Well, Algoma has reported a $652 million operational loss during its third quarter of the year.
Yeah, that's because it's not selling steel to the U.S.
Yeah.
So
that's a dramatic.
Go ahead.
That's a dramatic loss. Whereas earlier in the year they were still managing to hold their own.
Well, that's because a lot of the industries in the States front loaded as much steel as they could get before the tariffs kicked in.
Yeah.
And of course, if you do that, that means you're going to order less for a few months anyway. So there might be a reprieve a little later on, but I don't think so because the U.S. has done this before. They've this goes all the way back to the 60s, basically, when they started to lose steel production. They found it going offshore. They got really mad and clamped down on U.S. Steel and others who were investing outside of the U.S. And then steel production went back up. And then it goes back down in the 70s when steel started to be imported from other places and it wasn't economical for the U.S. to make as much steel as it was. And then everybody gets excited and they stop imports, whatever, and then steel production goes up for a while. It did that the problem is it's cyclical. The U.S. can produce enough steel for its needs, but it's costly to do that. Their total increase is only around 3 or 4% since the tariffs began. So they are making some ground. So that's not just Canadian steel; it's steel coming from anywhere else in the world too. So production in America's steel plants has gone up, and there's been some reinvestment in steel plants and all that. But as far as aluminum goes, they can't come close to us. So I expect the tariffs to be dropped on.
Well, the irony here, one thing that needs to be put in perspective is that last year's operation during 2024, they made an operational loss of 83 million during the third quarter of the year. So clearly, now what that's not telling me is the third quarter traditionally the worst quarter for the steel mills? You may know. I don't know. Don't have any statistical knowledge about that.
Well, what they've planned to do,
when you've got vacations and things like that, summer vacations, right?
Well, look, it's very, very clear that the problem is the tariffs. That's not going to change.
Yeah.
And like I said before many, many times, Trump has done us a favor because in the silver lining of this very dark cloud is a reorganization of the steel mills in Canada. They are not going to be an international, with Algoma at least, they're not going to be an interactive international steel producer now. They're going to redirect their production to domestic steel needs.
Or other
defense, etc.
Or replace the U.S. market with other markets.
It's very unlikely they'll be able to do that because steel production is universal. Just about every country has access to steel and access to inexpensive steel. The Japanese and the Germans and the Chinese have dumped overcapacity steel production everywhere in the world. They want to keep their steel mills going, and they're subsidized by the governments, and they dump this cheap steel. We don't do that here. They don't do it in the States. So if we protect ourselves against offshore steel, including U.S. steel, then we can redirect our steel manufacturing. But see, that was the business plan before. You can't blame Algoma. That was the business plan. They have a need for steel in the States, and they will buy our steel. Now they won't because they put a tariff on it.
I will say one
redirect our business plan to accommodate domestic producers. So that's defense, infrastructure, and other things, building perhaps.
Well, one country I will say that could easily take any excess Canadian steel because they haven't been producing steel for years is the UK.
UK has probably got all the steel it needs, a lot cheaper, coming from China, Germany, probably Germany and France.
It's ironic that steel used to be the marker of the strength of British industry, but steel is hardly even produced in Britain anymore.
Well, Britain was the first to design processes to make steel rapidly and cheaply. The problem with steel prior to the Industrial Revolution was how expensive it was, and it took a lot of charcoal from wood to make it. So it was a costly process. Once they figured out how to use the Bessemer process, and there was a process earlier than that even that helped mass produce steel, made it cheap, available, and all over the world. Yeah, but the problem is that is 200-year-old more than 200-year-old technology, and everybody's got it.
Yeah. Okay. Chris Simone. Good.
He came to mind a couple of days ago. I was driving through Chippewa thinking, oh, I wonder what Chris Simone's doing.
I must pause your 1-year penalty to mention that the Algoma switch to Brookfield's electric system is what is causing the job losses.
No, it's not exactly what's causing the job losses. They're taking the opportunity now to switch over to electric furnaces because it's an opportune time to do that. It was in the plans anyway, and even the U.S. steel producers are looking at electric arc furnaces as well for steel production. They were going to do this. They were going to do this anyway in Algoma, but now is a good time to do it because the demand for their steel has gone down. So now you've got all kinds of room to start rebuilding facilities.
Yeah, changing the processes. Yeah, at the same time.
And they got a big fat hunk of change from the government to help them convert, I think, $500 million or something.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. The future of Chippewa Center is going to be taking on some uncertain shape. They're saying it won't be Taj Mahal. Well, I wouldn't think so because it's the Chippewa. But again, we shall see. And the Niagara Falls general manager of creation and culture is kind of looking for a change to Chippewa to kind of, I suppose, and putting a new vision together, a new Chippewa Willoughby Community Center, but the design is uncertain. Design and scale is uncertain.
Well, it's Chippewa, and let me point this out. How do you make a silk purse out of a pig's ear, or whatever that expression is, right? Can you make a silk purse out of a pig's ear? Well, that's Chippewa. It's a bunch of hillbillies. Put up a couple of shacks, they'll be happy.
I don't think so, though. We've got good friends in Chippewa. You know that.
Yeah. Well, that used to be the image of Chippewa and Welland and places like that. But we see that Chippewa needs a new center. Now it has the arena. I played a bunch of hockey in that arena there. I've gone skating there with my kids even years ago. It needs a makeover. So the ideas are: do we take what is there now and do it a makeover, or do we build something brand new? The consensus is we have to build something brand new, which includes a library and other facilities for the community. However, the price tag that came up with was huge. It's a price tag of $65 to $75 million, and that is irksome. And now you are in this particular situation again. You are in a catch-22 position. You need a recreational center there. It is an expanding part of Niagara Falls. It's not going to get any smaller, and you need to get a recreational center there that includes all those community things: gymnasium, ice rinks, They want to have an NHL size pad. So if they have an NHL size pad, they're going to have to put enough bleachers in there because they're going to have high-end tournament possibly there because of the size of the pad.
Yeah.
But that notwithstanding, so you have to have a pad. Then you have to have the library and all the other facilities that belong there, and maybe some place where you can go and pay your bills, or like the McBain Center.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in fact, if you're going to be doing that, surely you would be doing it in the same model as the McBain Center. Make it a city facility that local people can use, that local people can pay their bills in, that local people can use for library, not just skating. Although skating's kind of a heart of our community, as we all know anyway, right?
Well, the problem that I see, it's going to be the McBain Center started out with a price tag and it went way over.
Yeah.
So that was, you see a price tag here where they put $65 million on it. Well, you kind of figure it's going to be $95 million. Look at the exchange. What happened to the exchange? It was super delayed and way over budget. That's the first thing that I would concentrate on if I was the counselors, to look back at previous projects, the exchange and the McBain Center, saw how they got way overpriced. They had to put way more money in it was original. This is going to happen in this too, if they don't get on it right away.
Yeah, absolutely. They need to, control the budget, get quotes, control the budget for, I don't know what's a fair price to pay, but what we can't have is exactly what you were talking about with the exchange. The first quote was 7 million, then it was 10 million, then it was 12 million, and then they ended up spending 17 million on it. No, we can't do that kind of thing.
Well, that was the same as the McBain Center. I think it was 3 times as much or 4 times as much as it was supposed to. I think it was supposed to be $6 million and ended up being $21 million. So it was like about 3 times as much.
You see, if I lived near the McBain Center, I'd think it would be it's a reasonable place. Putting aside the cost of spending, because you've got a library in there, you've got swimming facilities in there. I don't know if they have an ice rink. Do they have an ice rink now?
No, they have no ice rink there.
No, I didn't think
they have a gymnasium. They have a facility upstairs.
Another facility.
They have a pool.
They've got a walking track up there, which is good. Now, they've got a walking track in the Gale Center around the corner from me. But one of the things about the Gale Center, there's no swimming pools there. You got 4 ice rinks there, which don't interest me. But so you got the walking facility, which is above the ice. But again, limited. I would go there, but I wish there was more there.
Yeah. So, but the Gale Center is devoted more towards hockey.
Yeah,
it has facilities there for exercising. So it is a rink, and you have to put that into perspective. It is designed as an arena, a rink. Those facilities can be used during the summertime for lacrosse or other games. Like we did when we were kids, we played lacrosse on ice rinks that were, not used as ice rinks during the summertime.
Yeah.
But you get a place like in Stanford Arena, when it was still standing, the ice pad stayed there all year long.
Yeah.
But
the ice pad stays all year long in Gale Center.
Yeah, you can, but it's not all the pads, is it?
It is all the pads. Well, as far as I'm aware, it's all the pads. Actually, though the book riot is in one of the pads, and that's not iced up at the time of the book riot, so maybe not.
There you go. So it's not all ice pads. Yeah, you can understand it. Well, they got 4 pads there, so you can keep one going for hockey schools and for figure skating.
I've seen at least 2 going all year round. I can't swear to all 4. I've seen at least 2 going all year round.
All right, but the point is,
but you're right. You're
seriously,
right. It is, but it is focused upon ice, on hockey anyway, right?
So, hockey, figure skating, that kind of thing, and the other 2 pads can be used for other things if the ice is out on them. Like like I play lacrosse. I play lacrosse at Memorial Arena. I play lacrosse at Jack Bell. I play lacrosse at probably practiced up in Chippewa. I don't remember actually playing a game there, but and I played hockey in all those places. So these are useful things, but the Chippewa, to have everything located in a position like that, it's a newer, more expanding sort of they have a lot of area there. What to do? They're talking about using the old ice pad and converting it to other uses, and then building a brand new ice pad. But all this costs money. And how much do you want to do? My idea here is you have your plans. Submit your plans for the $65 to $75 million, all your wants included, and then start building it piecemeal. So
one of the things
you can build what's good for the first 10 to function at the first 10 years. When you've got more money, you can add on. You can design your building to be added on onto over the space of time, and that I think is what we should do with the architecture. Have the architecture made so that it is built in a way that it can be added onto easily.
Yeah. Okay. So the other question here is, Chris Simone is saying that they already have a new library, but we don't have a bank.
Well, the new library is in the old facility, isn't that?
I'm not sure.
I think that's what it is.
Yep. Yeah. And if you're talking about a new facility, you've got to have a new library, I guess, is what you're saying. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I don't know what they're going to do with the old facility, but to repurpose it for other things.
Yeah.
The whole idea, though, look, I can understand people thinking, well, this is what we're really going to need. These are our wants. These are what we really want. These are our needs. Basically, the wants and needs argument. Well, these are the wants. We can get what we want in time, but now build it to what we need now and what we can afford now, and then have the architecture pretty much designed to be added on easily. Everything is prefab stuff nowadays anyway. You can lift the wall out and then add another room easily enough. So I would design it so that it can be added onto easily enough. This was not a big deal in the old days, where even houses in suburban Scarborough were built so that another floor or two could be added onto them later on, where the roof could be lifted off and you could put another floor on. I think it's similar now with all the prefab construction material out there. You can design it so that you can wall it up, and 10 years from now, you can pull the wall out a section and then add another room or another gymnasium or something like that.
I always think it's important with city properties like this to have enough land to add more stuff to it, but B, have that capability of pull a wall out and add pieces to it. Maybe you don't need to pull the wall out. Maybe you just add a new component to the end.
That's what I'm saying. And you can design it in such a way. This is what it's going to end up this big, but we can build it just half that size for now. 10 years from now, when we got more money, we can add another 20% to it or 10% to it or whatever we find we need. You can quit some of the trails and some of the landscaping. You can reduce that big time too. But
again, you've got to do that in the longer
plan that building to be added on to later. Like I can't understand why that hasn't been proposed.
Well, in fact, actually, I think that's a very sensible idea when it comes down to building a lot of municipal buildings, right? Build something that is modular that can be added to in a with consistent design and and as you say, we can add the flower beds in 2 or 3 years' time.
Yeah, and as I said before, you could build it, 50% of the size you wanted. 10 years from now, bring the crane around, take that section of wall out because
put a
it's
new
all
one in.
segmented anyway. Take that section out, add what you want, and roof it off, and wait till another 10 years when you got more money to add more onto it.
Well, that would be, and also that would be respective of the growing needs of the Chippewa community, because as we know, one of the things is certain is that Chippewa is always going to grow. All right. Despite the concerns that people may have about the ecology, Chippewa is going to grow. We know that.
Where are they going to put all the hillbillies?
And at the end of the day, facilities that you need in 10 years' time, you have to kind of also think about 10 to 20 years' time as well.
Yeah. I don't know. They're going to have to find a place way at the end of Willoughby Road where they put the Chippewa hillbillies, the original inhabitants of Chippewa. They're going to have to go somewhere, All
right. Okay, moving on. A numbered company registered to Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown and his wife buys downtown Brampton properties at a cheap, on the cheap. Basically, this is a company that is.
Not that guy again, Patrick Brown.
Patrick Brown. And the reason he's of interest, of course, is because of his involvement in the corrupt part of the region.
This guy is always on the radar. There's something fishy about this guy everywhere. But he must be a wheel in the Conservative Party somehow, because he always seems to get away with it. He always seems to slide his way into something or another. And now he's the mayor, and he's just a piece of work, this guy. But I mean, he's getting away with it, everything he does.
Well, basically, the company bought 2 adjoining storefronts on Main Street in downtown Brampton, and there's basically restaurants on the ground floor and apartments on the second floor. No mortgage was registered on the property, suggesting that it was bought outright, so a cash deal. This company, Genevieve Gaultieri Brown, lists Brown as the president of the company.
Where did you register this article?
It came from the Toronto Star. The stuff I was getting was AI add-ons to it. I asked the AI about the.
Oh yeah, I got it now. Yeah, I didn't see it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Toronto Star article, so I can't open it anyway.
Oh, yeah. Actually, it's openable. I can see full access to the article, but I've also done an AI search on it about.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I got it open now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't see that originally.
Yeah.
So the prosecutor's error came to light in the case of the man accused of arson, which was tossed to a delay in the ruling, excoriating the Toronto Crown Attorney's Office. So you want to tell us more about this? You read it, I didn't.
Yeah, no. Basically, what I'm seeing from this is there was a number company registered to Mayor Patrick Brown and his wife, and they purchased 2 adjoining storefronts in Brampton for $1.45 million. And they're basically, the properties include restaurants on the ground floor and apartments on the second floor, and it was bought mortgage free. You can tell that sort of thing from Onland anyway. We do those kind of searches all the time when we're looking.
So what's the suspicious part of this?
Well, it's just that the concerns are conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest.
Yeah. And he stated he consistently checked with Brampton's Integrity Commissioner to ensure there's no conflict of interest with his role as mayor. But there's always concerns on that when the mayor goes and buys property.
I would like to see the extent of the information he gave to the ethics investigator or what police person or whatever it is. Yeah. This guy is Weasley. We know that. He's been Weasley ever since. There's always something surrounding this guy. He's always on the edge. You can never pin him down to any one thing, but there's all of this suspicion that follows him everywhere he goes. Like he is the crooked politician that gets away with being crooked, as it appears. Like I don't want to say that for sure, but it always seems that that is the impression that that's out there.
Yeah,
and he gets protected because he's a wheel within the Conservative Party. Like he's important among them. That's the impression I get. Now I haven't dug into it too deeply, but I know that his name keeps popping up. Patrick Brown here, Patrick Brown there, Patrick Brown suspected of this, Patrick Brown, some issue here, some issue there. So what is it with this guy?
Yeah. Well, and probably on the surface of it, buying 2 properties for 1.45 million sounds astute purchasing here.
Yeah, this sounds pretty cheap for what he got on the surface of it, although I haven't seen the property, whatever else.
Yeah.
Mortgage free.
Well, if you've got
he's the mayor, of course, and of course, do you think he can make things happen that he needs to happen? And
well, that's always a suspicion, isn't it? And we've been talking about this with any councillor, particularly councillors who are involved in real estate transfers, like realtors, have kind of a special privilege in a way. Right?
Well, we see Peter Angelo's family's bought property up around the hospital, right around the time when the price of that was going to explode. There was that business of the Stanford volunteer firefighters sold him a piece of property for next to nothing. That was 1/16 of its value, that kind of thing. And yet he's gone to a lawyer. He's gone ahead of time to see if it passes the ethics sniff test. And each time it had, although you got to wonder, he knew that those properties are going to be pretty much valuable or potentially valuable. And did he get the heads up from being in politics? Well, we find that politicians often do. See what's going to happen.
How do you the question here was, is he going to make a huge profit from these properties that he bought in Brampton? Maybe there's a new development coming along.
We don't know, but it's an opportune time. It was an opportune time to buy them, obviously. And so he has. Now, how much of an advantage did he have as being the mayor? How much advantage, or any councillor or city staff worker? How much advantage? How much insight did they have ahead of time, ahead of everyone else? We find politicians, like the big issue now in the States is how many politicians are making huge off of military contracts and all that other stuff because they have this timely buying of stocks just before the government releases information about contracts that are going
and that's
to
always the fear
Donald Douglas or Boeing or whatever, tanks or whatever, and they all seem to make money doing it. And is this the same kind of thing that Patrick Brown's doing here?
Yeah, that's exactly the fear here, right? It's basically that they're armed with foreknowledge that allows them to make deals that most people would not know about.
So my question is, can you avoid this? Would you be a fool to turn down an opportunity like that? If I was a councillor or mayor of Brampton and because of the submissions of developers and things like that, and I can clearly see that certain areas of the city are going to expand a certain way, wouldn't it be smart for me to then go and buy land out there or businesses out there because I can see how the city's going to move, and I've got the heads up on that because I can see the developments going on right now. I mean, it's open to anyone to see it, but it comes right across my desk, so I see it before anyone else does. So are you dumb not to invest in it? Is it an ethical violation? Is it something everyone else does it so I can do it too?
Yeah.
how do we measure that ethically?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because in fact, actually, almost any step you take, if you have knowledge that no member of the general public does not, one could argue that that is ill-gotten gains.
Possibly, but we could see that even when they do go to the ethics people, like guy Peter Angelo has the resources. He went to a lawyer. Now, does a lawyer look for cracks in the system that will allow you to be unethical without it being clearly unethical?
Rick, we've just been talking about Peter Angelo, the city councillor in Niagara Falls who bought land near the hospital. Yes, we've been talking about that, and remember, he has been cleared by the ethics committee on it.
Yeah, so he's been completely cleared. He's approached them, and he lets his lawyer do his talking for him. He doesn't do his own talking. The same thing when he got that nice little piece of property, the road allowance, from Stamford Volunteer Fire Department for $1,000 when it was evaluated at the time for $16,000. So is that a breach of ethics? I would say, but obviously, according to the strict rules of the ethics committee, that it passes the ethics sniff test. Yeah. Do we have to tighten those rules up? I think we do.
I mean, we possibly do.
If you're not doing anything wrong, but you still have the advantage over other people, then there is a problem with the system. You may not be
for example,
ethically responsible according to the rules, but is the ethical standard too weak?
And one of the things that's bothered me for a long time, and I'm not making any accusations here about any sitting councillors that I know, but for example, I believe it to be ethically wrong to have a realtor who's a city councillor, because the realtor can make by using foreknowledge, they can actually make money from things that are approved by the city council.
I'm not so sure it's such an easy thing done in a city the size of Niagara Falls, particularly when you are clearly a realtor and your investments can be traced. So I am not so sure. And this is I'm not trying to besmirch any of the councillors.
I'm not saying anything about any of the councillors. I'm not saying there's any wrongdoing. I'm just saying there's potential for.
Yeah, my issue here is you see a potential to buy land or buy a business, or like Patrick Brown does. Then you go to the ethics guy and say, can I or can I not do that? And the ethics guy says, well, according to these rules, you can get away with it. Are the rules strong enough, is my opinion. So if I was a councillor and I saw land that I thought was going to blow up in price, and I go to the ethics guy and say, is it possible for me to buy that land? And he says yes, and I buy it, and I full well know that I have the advantage because I'm in the city and I've seen these papers across my desk. I can always make the argument that everyone else could see them too if they were paying attention to them, which is true. So if you went down there and kept an eye on,
because you're seeing lot A, and you're buying lot B that happens to be right next to it, and you feel that if lot A grows to its full potential in 5 or 10 years' time, lot B that you've just bought will have major potential for you to make a lot of money out of it.
I think mostly it's the fact that the councils are dealing with this day in, day out, and the information is crossing their desk all the time, that we as private citizens could be as aware as they are if we spent the amount of time doing that. But because the councils are who they are, they get this information earlier, which may or may not give them an advantage. Now, let's put it clearly there. It may or may not give them an advantage. And are our ethical rules on such investment tight enough?
And for example, where it won't give an advantage is if the councillor decides that hey, that's a great plot. Maybe I'll buy plot B next to that, next door, because it's available. They put in and they know about it before the council has their meeting, and various things happen, and then the council says, no, we don't believe this is the right development in the right area. That happens. We've seen it.
Possibly, but
then you're out.
Really,
then you're
really,
out
the situation is with the Patrick Brown guy. This guy he keeps coming up over and over and over again.
Oh, yeah,
and it's always an ethical, moral question of where he is, and he always seems to be on the edge all the time, just within vision. So he does cover his ass, but obviously there's something going on if there's constant ethical questions or questions of his ethical process, conflict of interest in this particular case, what he did down here, and is sort of what appeared to be corruption, but it would have cost the region a heck of a lot of money to pursue that legally. And so he gets away with it. And the other guy that was involved in that too, there was that corruption charge, and it would have cost the region incredible amounts of money to go to fight it legally.
And we paid millions to settle out of court anyway.
Yeah, and when it comes right down to it, they were all hot to go after these guys. But when the cost of legal action came into play, so if you ask me, you're going to have to tighten up your ethical rules. Make it very, very clear. What is ethical? What isn't? Examine them. Examine the conflict of interest, and examine what you can and cannot do as a politician.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, I think we can leave it at that point, Dave.
Yeah, like nobody's doing anything that's illegal, and that's pretty much what they're saying here. But nobody likes what's being done.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Without further ado, I bid you adieu. I will mention Gaza and the West Bank again. That continues to go off. Trump, I don't know if I don't think he's got the spine to face up to Netanyahu, but Netanyahu is in his own problems now anyway. He's trying to get a pardon for the massive amounts of corruption charges leveled against him. Corruption has been a big thing with Netanyahu from the very beginning. He is like the Teflon Don south of the border here, where nothing seems to stick to him too much. He is his own version of Bibi's his own version of the Teflon Don in Israel. But whatever it is, he's got to go, and reasonable heads have to come into play here. The Palestinians and Israelis cannot keep bombing and killing each other. And right now, the Israelis got a huge amount of advantage, and that will never end, because every day they drop a bomb or kill a Palestinian or burn a Palestinian's car in the West Bank, they just made another radical terrorist, potential radical terrorist.
All right. So thanks, everybody. And Dave?
Without further ado, I bid you adieu.